No facades, no smoke screens, no water batteries. Join us as we dive into how shovels and washing machine chips, reckless diplomats, and mandatory conscriptions are a sign of an existential crisis in the West.
If you want a war with us, bring it on. We'll blow you off the friggin' map.
If we are to learn anything from the pandemic, when society collapses, when food shortages and power cuts become widespread, when people are pushed to the edge, what do we learn? We learn that people will literally fight each other for toilet paper. It is easy to be civil when you are comfortable, but you see, when the going gets tough, we can get a disturbing insight into the nature of some people. Now, what does any of this have to do with Ukraine, Russia, the US, and Europe? Well, there has been a running conflict since 2014 between Nato and Russia. A conflict that is coming to a head right now. Regardless of whether you think this operation by Russia is justified, there is a glaring reality settling in now. Putin is winning. He has the manpower, the artillery, and an increasing amount of confidence. A heavy battle is raging around the Kharkiv region right now, and if the Russians manage to take control of this region, it may well open the conflict to Kiev itself. As the endgame edges ever closer, we can see very worrying escalations. Anthony Blinken, the US Foreign Secretary, has given the green light for Ukraine to fire NATO-supplied weapons inside Russia territory. Such a move was condemned by Russia, claiming that this will now make NATO military targets fair game. Something is definitely in the air, and I'm not just talking about the Russian Lancet-3 munition drones. NATO is preparing itself for a wider conflict. There is no doubt about it. The German government is considering reintroducing a conscription for anyone over the age of 18, something that has not been seen since 2011. Poland, a member of NATO since 1999, is constructing new bomb shelters in its capital city, Warsaw. Sweden, which joined NATO in March 2024, is preparing its population for potential war and has expressed openness to hosting nuclear weapons from Western allies. Britain, of course, refused to be outdone, and in March 2024, the British Army announced that it will be lifting its ban on beards. Emmanuel Macron, the President of France,
Macron, do you know Macron? He's a very nice guy. Macron
has even suggested its troops could soon play a direct part in the conflict, and members of the French Legion have already been found taking part in strategic support roles. If NATO is preparing itself for a wider conflict, then by extension you, as an American or British or European citizen, may soon find yourself in a position where you may be requested to conscript. How exactly can this conflict resolve? Let's look at some potential outcomes. Say, NATO acknowledges that Ukraine will not be able to viably resist the Russian determination to demilitarize Ukraine. In this scenario, it is likely that Ukraine will have to sign concessions. For example, the annexation of some of its territories and to declare promises of not joining NATO in the future. Some may argue that this is the best option for long-term stability in the region. Though even in this option, the geopolitical situation of Europe will have changed drastically, with Russia being in a far stronger position than it was prior to the conflict. However, one has to question whether the leaders of NATO would be interested in this. After all, they have pumped billions of dollars into the Ukraine government and sent a huge amount of their weapon systems and artillery to support Ukraine. During this conflict, Western media and politicians perpetually supported a narrative which claimed Russia was always on the brink of defeat. Thus, an admission to the contrary may cause a shock among their native populations. Another outcome, however, one which brings into question the global rule-based order led by the United States. This outcome may well usher in an age of multipolarity, a world many of us have never experienced or have long forgotten. A world where not one superpower has dominion over global affairs, but rather power is split between regional super actors. The outcome in question is, of course, the eventual direct involvement of NATO in this ever-intensifying war, a situation that could escalate so fast that a nuclear war could be imminent. You see, Russia understands that it cannot match the combined military might of NATO. Putin has alluded to this already, and thus, if cornered, Russia may resort to the use of nuclear weapons to level the playing field. Here at Vortex, we recommend that you keep a close eye on this conflict. Look for signs of intensification and start preparing to your own personal capacity for disruption to energy and food supply. Thanks for watching.
If you can't give us some financial support, okay, please give us
subscribers,
and we will give you back
content.